Join us as there's new revelations of a new review that puts everything that Digital Foundry said about Stadia and Doom Eternal to task. Let's get into it.
Stay sick cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck. I'ma push me a matte all black truck. Oh, I'm not sorry.
What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K back again with an impromptu video. I'm gonna try to not make this too long-winded like my other one, because as I've stated before, there's a lot of things that I'm working on. I'm going to get into that soon, and but I didn't want to let this revelation go without addressing it, and at least not getting something on the record, as far as my personal opinions are, and giving you guys an opportunity to respond to all of that. So I wanted to do this. But big ups to everybody watching live. Big ups to everybody watching on demand. We got the homies, Marine 699, and we got Heath Stevens. You know what I'm saying? In the chat, big time supporters. Love you guys. You know what I mean? And I just want to, before I get into anything, I just want to start off by saying this. As I alluded to in my video yesterday, I know there were some very jagged and some very sharp things that I may have said yesterday, and that Chase may have said yesterday. And look, at the end of the day, I still love everybody, and everybody's difference of opinion is critical and is needed in this community. And that's why when I do streams and when I go through my chats, I don't just highlight the positive comments. I highlight the negative comments too, because going over everything and not being trapped in a silo allows people to be educated. If I can respond to the negative and the positive and break it down for people to parse and understand, that's going to help everybody's understanding of what's going on, whether you're a cloud gaming fanatic or if you just can't stand it. Again, the purpose of this channel is for people to gain knowledge. It's not to boost anything up solely or to pat Google on the back. I mean, I appreciate Google putting forth this platform. I do love the platform. It's my number one way to play now. It's finally surpassed PC, and that's because of the streaming aspect. And I'm going to get into that a little bit. But with that being said, I'm gonna call them out where I need to call them out at. I did it with my Division 2 video, and there's going to be instances to where we don't agree. Like me and Chase don't always agree. Me and Chase was talking before we went live yesterday, and we were going over the points where we don't agree. You know what I'm saying? And if he had more time, he would have touched on it. I might touch on it a little bit here. We haven't agreed in the past. It's okay. What I want to address though, and what I will be finite in my comments and my words, and maybe heavier than normal, is what makes this community great and unique is the fact that we do have those differences of opinions. And at the end of the day, we can shake hands and say, okay, I'll see you in Division 2 later on today. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll see you on some stacks or spitlings later on. We never want to try to shut each other down. And I think we never want to be dismissive of anybody's points. And I think we were kind of like traveling in that area yesterday. So I mean, the hell with it. we just had to have a coming to Jesus speech. Doesn't mean I don't love any of you guys, and doesn't mean that you might have to reciprocate the favor one day to have a coming to Jesus speech with me. It's just, it is what it is, but it's what makes this community unique and great. And one that I love and cherish, and I feel so fortunate to be a part of. Now, with that said, let me just cover some quick things. First and foremost, people have been asking me, MM2K, why aren't you doing videos on any of your channels or planned videos? First and foremost, for those of you that don't know, I'm affiliated with a group called the PNTS Network. Okay. Stands for pencil neck 30 somethings, even though we're well beyond our 30s. But the belief is that once you hit 30, you hit to a echelon of gaming to where it's a little bit more mature. You know what I'm saying? We have a whole host of different content creators, where there's me, Dirk Griggity, Snow Bunny, the homie Devin got the box, Nethos contributes, Tsunami, Noah, and a bunch of other people that are going to contribute to. And some of us also belong to the Broadband Bullies. If you haven't heard of us, no, we're not a bunch of people that go out there and bully people on the internet. But it's a more raunchier side. Think of this. Think of PNTS as Good Morning America in some ways, and Broadband Bullies is more of Howard Stern. Okay. Both have their slices and their lanes in the culture. You know what I'm saying? One is not better than the other, but again, different strokes for different folks. But I have the fortunate ability to be able to represent both, right? And then even though that's who I'm on paper affiliated with, I still love Stadia Source. You know what I mean? Share Stadia. I rock out with everybody. Okay. And I love all you guys. But with PNTS Network, we're going to be making some changes. There's just some things that are not working. And over the course of a month, we're going to be addressing those things that are not working. But next week, we're looking to get our Patreon up and running better, more efficient for people. You know what I'm saying? So you get the most bang out of your buck. Also, our Discord, we actually have a Discord, but we kind of had it on lock because we're trying to avoid a lot of the console war muck. We want people to come in and enjoy themselves. So we've only been letting people in little by little, but we're going to open the floodgates and see how it goes starting next week, hopefully. And so it takes some time to get all that together. You know what I mean? And then there's other just business deals behind the scenes that we're working on, other content that we're going to create. I'm still trying to carve out things. Me and Z got a podcast coming. I mean, just a bunch of stuff going on to where it just wasn't feasible for me to do videos every day. So I'm just doing impromptu stuff and then going back and putting my head down and doing the hard work. Also, so stay tuned for that. What I also want to bring up is the Stadia initiative. Okay. Our Avengers style type of podcast where a group of Stadia podcasters that have a rapport with each other, great chemistry. We're going to be doing a podcast, I think bi-weekly. And the first podcast might be tomorrow. We'll soon see. But tune into Club Stadia to get more details on that. It's going to be a great podcast. There's me, Eddie, Megatron, Chase, and Brian. And if I'm missing anybody, I deeply apologize. My mind is just in such it's such a fickle right now because all the stuff that I'm doing behind the scenes and doing these impromptus kind of threw me off a little bit. But it's going to be a great podcast. So definitely tune in and check that out. Right. And then, so that's it. I don't want to take too long. I want to get into the meat and potatoes of today. And then I want to open it up to questions, but definitely do me a huge favor. Tweet this out. Let everybody know that we're live. And that way people can know that, the floor is up for discussion, right? Let me do something else. I'm going to do one more thing. Digital Foundry. Let me see here. We're just letting everybody know that we're live. Digital Foundry. Put to task. All right, I'm going to send that out too. Okay, so here's what. Oh, geez, I didn't want all this stuff open. Let me close a lot of this stuff so I don't get myself confused. Okay, that's been sent out. Okay, and let's go to the podcast right here. Okay, all right, so just to give everybody a brief history on what's going on here in case you've been under a rock or, if you're enjoying your other content, some elsewhere and you have no idea what's going on in the Stadia community. And that's very likely, again, because we are a community within a community within a community, right? I mean, we're not delusional about that, but we are growing and the platform is thriving. Google has learned from its mistakes. They're doing a lot of great things and this platform is only going to get better and better and better. I did speak yesterday, truth to fiction, is that if we want this to fully thrive and get better saturation within the community, it's indicative of us to be cognizant of some things. Hence why I'm staying laser focused on this right now until I think it's got enough saturation. And what is this thing? Well, brief history. Digital Foundry over the weekend via John Linneman made some comments about cloud gaming, that he doesn't like cloud gaming. He made those comments because people were asking Digital Foundry, where in the world is your review of Doom Eternal on Stadia, right? And I think it was a rightful question, because a lot of these people support Digital Foundry and they probably give to the Patreon. Digital Foundry gets thousands upon thousands of dollars to Patreon a month. You know what I'm saying? They probably support their Patreon and they feel that they're consummate professionals. At least they appear to be so on video or wherever you view them at. So it's like, okay, you're gonna check out the different platforms. John Linneman first snidely said people wanted that, and then all of a sudden he said, well, maybe Richard or somebody will do it, right? You know, and then he said, because I don't really care for cloud gaming, which that has nothing to do with the tea in China. If you're a consummate professional, whatever your personal beliefs could get left at the threshold when you enter the door, you're supposed to review everything as is. That makes no sense to me. But it is, but you know, now you know it's all transparent. And if you're giving money to them, you need to think twice. You know what I'm saying? Because I beckon back to what Chase said so elegantly yesterday. They came for the butcher. I said nothing. They came for the barber. I said nothing. They finally came for me, and there was no one left to protect me. You see what I'm saying? Digital Foundry's hate on cloud gaming may not mean nothing to you, but if they keep using their biased views to not do things thoroughly and appropriately, they're going to come across something that you like if they haven't already, and they're going to do it under a biased lens. You see what I'm saying? They've already were under hot water with the homie King Thrash over some things that he pointed out. And in totality, I didn't agree with his sentiment, but what he helped do is he helped to expose the biased nature of Digital Foundry, which they admitted, oh yeah, we're not doing the type of reviews that people expect of us anymore because we got to, you know, pay the bills. That's basically what he squeezed out of them. And now we're seeing the results of that with Stadia. So, you know, again, it's not unreasonable that people ask, where was the review? On the same token, after I thought about it, I said, you know what, it's best that they don't do that because they're not, as a group, consummate professionals. I like Richard Ledbetter, but, you know, the apple, you know, one spoiled apple ruins the bunch, and it looks like he's surrounded by spoiled apples. You know what I mean? For something like this to even go through, he's not the leader. He just may be more professional than his peers there. But what can he do if they decide to get together and put out some BS like this, right? So they had those comments, and finally, out of nowhere, they came up with a shoddy review, okay? And the review was shoddy. It was false in key areas, and it brushes over the unavoidable positives. Where they tried to be positive, they mixed it in a lot of word salad, and where they felt like they can get away with being negative, they overemphasized on it. And they were over dramatic about it, and they just flat out lied. Okay. And let me do this. I want to share something with you guys. And this is a tweet which I had on the matter. I said, the big issue with the Digital Foundry Doom Eternal video seemed rushed with lack of typical analysis from team, positives thrown in a word salad while negatives dragged out. Video didn't include COVID-19 big bottleneck byline. Shows no effort at troubleshooting likely causes of latency. You know what I'm saying? So they roughshod put something together, and big up to Ashes of the community. Ashes had alluded that it looks like, and I totally agree, it looks like what they did is they just did it because they wanted to say, okay, you're going to bother us about a Doom Eternal video for Stadia? All right, well, we're going to make sure that you never do it again. And those are not the actions of consummate professionals. And if you're donating to them, you definitely want to think twice about it, okay? So because of that, Chase and I hit the airwaves and we talked about, you know, why this just wasn't professional. In response to that, which is okay, which is fine, there were others in the community that felt different. They felt like that the Digital Foundry review was not bad, and that part of it we didn't mind, but they felt like we should let it go. And to be fair, the different levels of let it go range differently in the community. Some people's let it go was just simply, I'm not worried about it. I'm going to let it go. Where it ranged to the most extreme, you know what? You guys are just pulling at strings. Digital Foundry did nothing wrong. You have to let this go. Right. So Chase felt a certain way about that. I felt a certain way about that. Not because of me personally, because number one, our opinions were being tagged in the wrong light. It was being made to seem like that we were upset that our favorite box wasn't being put in a great light. And no, if that was the case, then we would have left Stadia alone a long time ago. If we were worried about that. No. Chase and I genuinely care about other people besides ourselves and besides the success of our platform. And again, I'm not tagging anybody else. I don't know what their MO is, but I can just only speak for me, and I can only partially speak for Chase. He can definitely speak for himself. That we care not only about us and our platform, but we care about the unsuspecting gamer. Y'all have seen Chase get choked up on stage. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that unless you have a genuine care for other people. And I do too. And my genuine care says I'm looking at a lens that they're looking at. They're not looking at the intangibles that we know how to interpret appropriately. They're looking at the dog whistles that Digital Foundry is sending out to the average consumer. You don't want to buy a game, let alone a first-person shooter on Stadia. There is no point. There are systematic problems. You're not going to have any fun. That is the dog whistle tone of what they said. So there's nothing positive about it, because even if we, the minority within a minority within a minority, are happy with it, if we don't grow, if this don't get saturation outside of us, this platform goes nowhere. So whether you care about the unsuspecting gamer and whether they're being duped into not enjoying something that we know that they would enjoy, or you don't care about anybody, but you want the survival of this platform, either way, it's a lost cause. So we were just telling people, you got to look at the big picture. Okay. So that's the brief history of all this and why this was a thing. It wasn't because, at least Chase and I, or a lot of us that were vocal, were upset that they were disrespectful to us. I know Rox had touched on that, and I think that's a valid point, but I wasn't necessarily thinking about that. I'm used to being disrespected, because I always stand up for what I believe in. I've been like this since day. I've been hated, and I'm so used to it, and that's why it's like water off a duck's back. I'm so hated because I have my own particular views on things, and I stand firmly with them. I care less to belong to a group unless I feel like belonging to it. I don't care if it's 1 or a million. That's why I can go on the internet and defend certain aspects of Fallout 76. I can say, you know what? It's not a fantastic game. Yes, does it have issues, but it's nowhere near as bad as people made it. And I can do it for months without a care in the world, because I don't care what anybody says about what I like. I'm going to defend what I defend. With that being said, I don't like consumers being duped, because I have that genuine care. All right, I don't want to spend too much time on that, because I want to talk about the now. I want to focus on the now. And the now is this actual this actual review, professional review from our friends at Android Police. And look, Android Police, by no shape of the imagination, are Stadia enthusiasts. They've had their fair share of negative stuff to say about Stadia, and you know what? It is what it is. Like I said, we can't play whack-a-mole against everybody that has an opinion. Opinions are allowed. And and Android Police have said some things that I don't agree with, but who cares if there's just not genuine agreement? If it comes from a place of professionalism and a place to where we got to reasonably sit back and say, you know what, I can dig where they're coming from, even though I don't agree with it, then we got to just let it be. We can't be cult-like. I know they're joking and saying that we're a cult now, but we can't be cult-like. So that's why you've never heard me talk about Android Police, because when I look at the negative things that they may have said, even if it might be a little bit rhetoric filled, number one, they're Android Police. You know what I'm saying? Number two, so they're going to have a little bit more faith towards a dedicated solution. And number two, if you line it up against the facts and and it's a reasonable opinion to have, I'll let it go. You know what I'm saying? And there's definitely dissension here, one which I strongly disagree with. But the basis of this review is so professional. It's so outlined. It's so detailed, and it matches so accurately with my own personal, not opinion, my own personal experience. It's rooted in fact. It doesn't try to do what Digital Foundry does and try to make opinion fact. Digital Foundry said in their review, it's just a matter of fact that you're going to have less fun with Doom Eternal on Stadia than you are elsewhere. That is not true. Even if there is a little bit more latency, not as much as Digital Foundry said, but even if there is a little bit more latency, I'm going to have more fun for the simple fact that I know that at a moment's notice, I can go from my game room downstairs and play it anywhere on my phone. If I can play it on my phone at still great fidelity and great frames, I can't do that elsewhere. So it's not a fact. It is definitely not a fact. Okay? But those are the type of things that Digital Foundry via Tom or whatever the hell his name is, they said. They said that it is a fact. If I can be mobile with the game, still get great fidelity, great performance, and I ain't got to put down the joystick in order to enjoy this thing where I have to do it with dedicated solutions, how am I having more fun? If that's something that I do. So it's not a fact. That is an opinion. That's subjective. But that's what they did. Here, they don't do that here. They separate the fact from opinion, and even though we disagree, I can respect it. So what did they basically say here in this review? Well, I'm going to start off here. They say 5 months in Stadia, 5 months in Stadia slowly packing in its library with more and more quality titles. The release of Doom Eternal earlier this month, the platform hit a major milestone. It's the first major AAA game to launch day and date with PC and consoles. Should you be lacking the local hardware horsepower to bust demon skulls, but you're reluctant to stream a game as notoriously fast-paced as Doom, I'm happy to report that if your network is up to snuff, Eternal runs wonderfully on Google's cloud platform. It's also an immense gratifying experience. Look, let's get away from the immense gratifying experience, which Doom Eternal is that. But that mimics the stuff that I have had shown on this very channel. Other people have shown on this channel. We having an immense time with the game. But the fact is where they say Eternal runs wonderfully on Google's platform. That's a matter of fact. That is a matter of fact. When everything is working, it's wonderful. Now, people may say, when everything is working, yes, just like when everything is working on your console. If your console is burning hot and everything's not working, then yeah, you're going to get worse performance. It might shut off on you. And is that the game's fault? Is that the platform's fault? No, it's your individual. It's your individual selection. And this isn't cloud gaming. You can't look at it through the same prisms as far as your problem shooting. When something is going wrong with your gaming on a console or PC, you got to check the codecs and dodecs and all the other stuff and check your network connections. And like Chase said, you got to check NAT3 stuff. When stuff goes wrong with your cloud gaming, you got to look at your connection with your controller, check the HDR. There's just different bells and whistles to check. That's all. Because it's a different medium. That's it. But if you can check those bells and whistles on dedicated devices, you got to be the consummate professionals to do it on the cloud gaming, or don't even review it. Don't even review it. Okay, but they say Eternal runs wonderfully on cloud platform, and that one I can say is a fact because I've seen it, 6-4 seen it, Projekt seen it, Lloyd seen it. Lloyd's stream on Stadia Cast was so wonderful that he made me so jealous that I went into OBS and tried to tweak my settings and ended up messing up my future streams because my rig just isn't as powerful as his. You know what I'm saying? So that being said, it does run wonderfully on the platform, unlike what Digital Foundry tried to say. They tried to say that it runs like crap. As a matter of fact, let me do this. Let me pull up the Digital Foundry interview so y'all know that I'm not making this stuff up. And we can look at it live, side by side. Digital Foundry, no, I don't want them on YouTube. Eurogamer. Digital Foundry. Where's the Doom Eternal? Okay. So yeah, we're going to do a side-by-side analysis. Okay, let me do this. Side-by-side analysis of what they said. This is the Digital Foundry video. Doom Eternal looks great, but the lag is too high. Opposed to Eternal runs wonderfully on Google's cloud platform. Now I want to show y'all something real quick. I want to go more into this. Let me see. All right. So here it says, in assessing this port, we're pushing, this is from Digital Foundry, we're pursuing our usual strategy of running the game with the best quality setup. That means we're using the Stadia controller connected directly to Google servers via Wi-Fi with imagery delivered via Chromecast to an LG OLED B8 rated for 22 milliseconds of lag under game mode. A 300 megabyte Virgin Media Fiber connection with Chromecast via Ethernet removes any home Wi-Fi latency that might occur. With our lag measurements, we carried out with no other devices sharing the line. Pulling up the Stadia connection tab, our setup is rated excellent with 4K enabled. Despite this, there are still some minor, very infrequent stutters in performance. So let's compare that to this. This is what Android. Let me remove this banner so y'all can see that. This is what Android Police said. It says lag never felt like it was a factor in any of many deaths. Talking about how he's playing. With my fairly average internet connection, I get about 25 megabits down on a day. I didn't notice any input delay. And if there's a game where you notice it, it's Doom. Things did get a bit choppy on the end of my apartment farthest from the router, but my TV is only a few feet from it, so there was a seldom problem. So explain to me, let me not yell, explain to me how on a 25 megabit down solution, he's not experiencing these issues, but they have a 300 megabyte Virgin Media Fiber connection with Chromecast, all this stuff. What does this mean, MM2K? It means nothing, because if you're experiencing lag or input delay, your connection to the actual screen means nothing. It's all about your controller, baby. The way Stadia's technology works, and Digital Foundry knows this, is that you connect to the data center via the CCU or the browser, whatever you're using to see the actual stream. And then you're simultaneously connecting your controller to the data center as well for input if you're using the CCU or the Chromecast Ultra. So if you're using the Chromecast Ultra in that fashion, not only do you have to check your connection, which what they did here with 4K enabled, you know what I'm saying? That 4K, it was rated excellent. That was for the 4K enable. Or that's where the 4K enable comes in with the excellent rating. That had nothing to do with the controller. But then if you're noticing lag, you don't just sit there and say, well, I hate cloud streaming, and I really hate Stadia, so therefore this must be symptomatic of that. Time to tippity tap tap. No, you're supposed to troubleshoot. Something must be wrong. Their means of troubleshooting was just going to other games and looking at the lag that was there with the other games. No, you go and troubleshoot with the controller. There were updates and stuff that go through that might be paramount to Doom Eternal, just like there's firmware updates with the Xbox controller that you got to do. I remember when I was saying that the Xcloud had a whole bunch of lag and latency, and I actually showed it. I did a side-by-side comparison pretty much, and I showed it. And I had same people that are telling me to let this go. I had the same people coming to me and saying, did you do the firmware update on the Xbox controller? Ha ha, and I got the receipts of it. They were actually arguing that then, but now they're saying that, no, this can't be a factor. You got to let it go. On a cloud technology service that is paramount, that actually has the controller connected to the data center, you didn't troubleshoot that. It's a no-brainer to go check it for Xcloud that doesn't run off the same technology. That isn't indicative of that, but it's not indicative to do it for something that's running the wireless controller off the data center. It makes no sense. And it just shows you the paramount hate that there's out there for the system. Okay. So you have comments like that. And then you also have, let me see. You have comments where they try to talk about, okay, they says, okay, let's go back to what they say. This is the good. This is the good from the Android police report, or Android police review. The good is with a solid connection, playing on Stadia just feels like playing anywhere else. Okay? You can't get any more clear than that. Again, with a solid connection, playing on Stadia feels just like playing anywhere else. What is his definition of a solid connection? 25 megabits. So apparently Android police knows how to troubleshoot, or they did better at troubleshooting than the people at Digital Foundry did. Okay? Because they only had 25 megabit connection, where Digital Foundry had 300 megabits. Do you see where I'm going at here? To where they were, and Digital Foundry knows what they were doing. They're not dummies. They've actually sat and talked with Google about this. They know what they were doing. When they were doing other reviews and they couldn't do the cloud streaming appropriately, they went and got a compressed video from Google to analyze for pixelations and stuff like that. So they know what they're doing, but they're going to you, the unsuspecting gamer, or those that are the unsuspecting gamer, and they're trying to sell them a bunch of hogwash to sell the narrative that you don't want to pick this thing up. We're off a 25 megabit connection. Android police is able to conclude that with a solid connection, playing on Stadia just feels like playing anywhere else. What are we doing here? Now, in culmination with that, another issue could have been is this, which Digital Foundry left out of their video. And they know most people, the casuals that they're trying to keep away from this, watch their videos. This is what they're talking about as far as the lag is concerned. Digital Foundry says, all of which raises an interesting question. With the current COVID-19 lockdown situation and the increased stress on internet infrastructure in general, are we looking at a genuine problem? So basically, maybe we're having this increased latency and lag because of COVID-19 and where we're at, they're bogging down the internet. And maybe Android police isn't suffering from that. But as consummate professionals, I bet you Android police wouldn't have still ran forward with the review with some biased inclinations in it. No. But you did. Let me see here. They say here there's no skirting around the fact that Doom Eternal is inherently less fun to play on Stadia. This is Digital Foundry's assessment. And then they also say the unavoidable conclusion is that the game is simply a lot more fun to play on a local console. Again, there is no skirting around the fact that Doom Eternal is inherently less fun to play on this. How? Where off a 25 megabit connection with a solid connection, playing on Stadia feels like just playing anywhere else. How is it inherently less fun how is it a fact that it's inherently less fun when you have such a drastic other view here off a far less superior, or a far more inferior, rather, internet connection? And this is why I said to my Stadia brethren, there is no way in hell that Digital Foundry should get a slide on this. If that's your opinion, that's fine. I don't care who Digital Foundry is. I really don't care. I don't care. They're not sending me the fruitcakes in the mail that they may be sending some of you guys, or they're giving me the free Dos Equis, at the barbecue that I'm not invited to. I don't care. A liar is a liar, and a liar will get dealt with on this channel. And this is solely indicative of my experience and other experiences that we know of. So why are we covering up for Digital Foundry? That's the point. That's all the point I'm making. Now, with all that said, now that we cleared out what our position is, now that we actually got the receipts and we showed where Digital Foundry is full of bullpucky, hence this special hashtag that I got here, Dupery Foundry. Being that we showed the receipts, the videos are out there on the internet proving otherwise, I want to move on to the next section before we start getting into questions. With that being said, let me see what people are saying out here in chat. Heath Stevens said, calm down, bro. I'm good, progress. Dave said, laugh out loud. No. He said, less fun on Stadia, Chariot Man Gaming. Get the hell out of here. I said, finally, somebody give Stadia some respect. And look, guys, I'm not, and big ups to Project Storm. Project Storm, or you should be a mod. Drop your channel here. Project Storm. This is what Project Storm does, y'all. See, we're a bunch of technical enthusiasts here, and we do a bunch of crazy stuff, and that's why we're the first adopters of Stadia. You know what I'm saying? We were willing to take the risk, even though the idiot herd was out there in the outrage culture was telling you don't. We know better because we're cut from a different cloth. So we tried the platform, and we say, okay, we were right in sticking with this. It's not what the media and the outrage culture is saying, right? Project Storm takes it a bit further. This brother is on some stuff. Sub to his channel. Project Storm is onto some stuff. Just look what he did. This brother went and through Shadow PC, he logs into Stadia via Shadow. So he's using two connections and he's playing it on his video, on his channel, and his connections show less lag. Going through two entry points, Shadow, then Stadia. And for those of you that don't know what Shadow is like a virtual PC that you can use to stream games as well. It just works a little bit differently. It's not its own platform, so you got to use your PC games, but it's a virtual PC. So he's going through a virtual PC and he's playing Stadia, a streaming service through a virtual PC, and he's showing you Doom with great resolution, great performance, but nowhere near as much lag as they're trying to indicate at Digital Foundry. He's showing you that through two entry points. And you're trying to tell me that Digital Foundry's review was good and fair? You want me to subscribe to that? It's not going to happen. I may not change your mind on why it's bad, but you're definitely not changing my mind on why this is horrible and why we got to speak out against it. And now with this, let me say this. When I'm going to be honest, and I don't think I've even said this to Chase, but I got to be transparent here. When I saw Digital Foundry's comments about them not liking cloud gaming, it didn't shock me because I've been heavily following Digital Foundry for a few years now because of the whole console war thing that I'm subjected into between Xbox and PlayStation, right? So I think I might have a little bit more information, or those of us in the console war might have a little bit more information on Digital Foundry that a lot of you guys might even have. You know what I mean? As far as behind the scenes stuff with them. I done seen personal communications with them and people that have put them to task. We know that John Linneman goes and he reaches out on the internet whenever stuff like this happens, and what he says isn't too good. You know what I'm saying? And people get concerned. So there's a lot of behind the stuff scenes that I'm aware of that you guys may not be aware of with Digital Foundry. Okay. Y'all just see the reviews and y'all go about y'all business. So that's the positives of the console wars that we dig deeper. So we know a little bit more. With that being said, it didn't surprise me. So while Chase was getting worked up about it, I was personally thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let this go because the hope is Digital Foundry got their hate, but Google must have had a conversation with them, or they just come to the realization that they don't want to bite themselves in the long run. When this platform does become a little bit more populated, they don't want to be on the wrong side of this curve. So they're just going to stay out of it for now. In the hopes that was going to happen. But when they decided to not only be unprofessional and say what they said over the weekend, despite the platform, and do this roughshod thing, that's when I said, okay, you know what? Chase was on the right path. I got to speak up. So it's not like that. It's just like, oh, Digital Foundry said something negative, and therefore at least MM2K wanted to kick them in the ribs. No, I was actually going to let it go. But then they did this, and it was roughshod, and it was inaccurate, and it was a disservice to the unsuspecting gamer. I want to say this as well too. Now that and again, if you guys have questions, let us know down below. There's some strong disagreement here. There was definitely some strong disagreement. What is the strong disagreement? Let me show you. Okay, so if we continue on, they say, should you buy it? And that's fine. And they say buy it if you enjoy Doom. And they're talking specifically on the Stadia version. Buy it if you enjoy Doom 2016. You generally into the whole fire and brimstone intense vibe. Don't buy. This is where I strongly disagree. Don't buy if you need more modern tropes like regeneration health. And taking cover to have fun with the shooter, or you have somewhere else to play it. The Stadia version is great, but there's not much reason to choose it over any other platform. I strongly disagree with that, and I do think that's giving the platform a disservice for this reason. That I get it, that if you can get 4K 60 elsewhere like you can with Stadia, as someone that plays on dedicated devices, what is your perk? But Doom Eternal, or Stadia is more than just the 4K 60. It's the mobility. Like, I buy one copy and I get the same performance no matter what screen I play it on. I ain't got to worry about load times. If I'm a working adult, I've done 10 hours, but I do want to get some Doom Eternal on, but I only got 45 minutes to play a little bit of it. Guess what? I get my full 45 minutes. And you're going to die a lot in Doom. You're going to die. It's tough. You're going to die a lot in Doom. Those load screens, like when you die, the load screen on native hardware is a while in between each death. Where on Stadia, it's instantaneous. And two, I didn't have to spend premium money in order to do that. And lastly, why I strongly disagree with that is because the version that you see of each game on Stadia, whether it's the best or it's shoddy, like people say Wolfenstein Youngblood is not, it always improves like within the first 2 weeks drastically. And people may say, well, there's patches that do this. I mean, I get that, but it's like an instantaneous, it's like a given for every single game, and it improves immensely in response and like key areas in response and visuals. There's always a big time. It's usually within the first 2 or 3 days. Like there's a trial and error that comes with Stadia that is not prevalent on dedicated hardware. On dedicated hardware, they have a static way to test it. They could take a TV, a controller, and a box and say, okay, this is the same setup that's going to be pretty much in 80-90% of the homes. But with a network solution, it's a little bit more complicated. You can't replicate at 80-90% efficiency what people are going to be using. You can't do that. You got to put it out there, get the data back. After you collect the data, know where to make the tweaks, then put it back out there again. And that's what happens with a lot of games on Stadia. Now, for the most part, when they put them out there, they work fine. But there are some hitches. I want to say about 10-20% of the games that when they come out and there's some issues that it takes them a couple of days to look at the data and fix, and they fixed them and they work well. One of them is Destiny 2. When I first got Destiny 2, I was still amazed. I still was having a good time. I could slightly notice, but hardly notice the latency, to where now I can't notice it. Like 2 or 3 days later, I couldn't notice it at all. And they upped the resolution, and they did something to make it so much more graphically intensive, or visually intensive, rather. I'm sorry. That it was amazing. So that's how Stadia works. Again, it's a different animal. It's It's a cloud solution, so they can't replicate everybody's network situation because network situations are much more complicated than just hooking up a static box. So they got to put it out there, get the data. After they get the data, put it back out there, and boom. And I think that's a big reason why they don't do pre-orders. It makes sense. Because I don't want to say a lot of, not even most of these games, but for a portion of these games, it takes them a couple of days to shake it out because of that dynamic. But as they're getting more and more data, they can make more and more tweaks. And more likely that games as they release will be more suffice at day one. So instead of 10 to 20% of the games having issues, they'll go from 2 to 5%. So you can't beat that with a stick. So that's why I say, that's where I strongly disagree. I think it's that comment is doing the platform a disservice, where I can move around at any moment and still play the game. I ain't got to worry about load. So someone like me, a father who got kids calling 24/7, a wife, a demanding wife, I can get my 45 minutes in. Well, I can't do that on a dedicated device. Honey, you got to come downstairs. No more podcasting, as she says. Boop, boop, boop. And as long as I'm downstairs with her and I can multitask, I can still play my Doom on my phone or wherever. That's important to people like me. And there's a lot of people like me, like Chase, like whoever. That's it's paramount to something like that exists. So whoever this person is at Android Central just doesn't have that life experience. But guess what? Even though I strongly disagree, I can still respect it. Because that opinion is based on what? Facts. I can dig it. I can dig an opinion where somebody is saying, look, one of the biggest perks of Stadia is the 4K 60 and the performance. If you have a game that is 4K 60 here on streaming, 4K 60 on a console, and 4K 60 on the PC, then you got to look at the intangibles of each system. And if the controls are even just a little bit less responsive on Stadia, then that automatically, in my eyes, gives the favor to the dedicated devices. That is okay. Even though I strongly disagree with that, and I just pointed out why, that is an okay opinion to have. I can dig that. Because it's based off of professional analysis. I just don't agree with it, but I can respect it. I cannot respect someone that says something like this. There's no skirting around the fact that Doom Eternal is inherently less fun to play on Stadia. It's not an inherent fact. It is a bunch of bloviating as far as, well, I checked this and it said 4K perfect, excellent here. No, you had an issue with your connection between your controller and the data center, and you didn't troubleshoot it. You apparently didn't, because everybody else that is playing this game does not have your same experience. Explain that. You have now been exposed. And you being the de facto source of technical analysis, that shouldn't be left alone. So no, I wholeheartedly don't agree with it shouldn't be responded to. You are the de facto group for technical analysis. If you can be this sloppy and this spot off of your analysis versus somebody who was just doing this off a 25 megabit connection, then that says a lot. That's a reflection on you. And gamers should know that. So, a lot to parse there, y'all. A very sad ordeal. I don't know what to say besides, again, what I beckoned back to in my video yesterday. We need to like I'm doing here, I tag Digital Foundry. They're going to see all this stuff that I got to see, and I want them to see y'all responses too. They need to know that what they did is not cool. You're taking people's money, and they're giving you money on the basis that they're expecting you to be professional, consummate professionals in your analysis. And if you feel like that your own personal bias doesn't allow you to do that, then speak up, be honest about it, and don't do the review. Now, the disheartening, but the more appropriate thing would have been for John Lindemann to say, look, we have our biases versus cloud gaming. And because of that, it separates us from us to looking at this through a lens that you guys that do like it deserve. So therefore, we're not doing cloud gaming reviews. We might leave them to Richard. But we're not going to do them. It would have been disheartening, but it would have been honest, but they're not going to do that because there might be people that actually like cloud gaming that are going to leave. And they know that. It's going to leave their Patreon. I'm like, oh, if you're not going to do reviews on GFN or then we're leaving. We're leaving. You know? So we definitely need to let them know. And then because they're again against the height of technology, my suggestion is that we do a Patreon for our own, so to speak, Digital Foundry. And what I spoke to earlier with the PNTS network, we're working behind the scenes. I'm working with some other people too here within the Stadia community. While I've been talking to them, I'm going to see what we can do as far as like funding somebody via even our Patreon or a joint Patreon. For somebody to do these reviews. We got to take matters into our own hands, and we want consummate professionals. You know what I'm saying? We want somebody that's just not going to give glowing praises. We want somebody that's just going to be fair, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? So that's it. I hope that everybody now fully understands what's going on here and why Digital Foundry's review was seriously problematic and is an issue for the community and why we cannot accept it. Especially if we want to see the growth of this platform, because it's being heavily misrepresented here and people have an agenda and we can't just let this go as a whole. I don't mean everybody should speak up. If you don't feel like speaking up, don't speak up. But, you know, Chase, 6'4", Stadia Rocks, Projekt, all, you know, the rest of us, let us do it. You can give your opinion to the contrary. That's fine, but let us do it. But to wag the finger, no, because now I'll say this. I'm not saying this to shame anybody, but after looking at all this information side by side, it's one thing to have an opinion. You know what? It's not a big deal. I'm leaving it alone. I don't think it should be touched, so I'm leaving it alone. It's one thing to have that. That's your opinion. But to go out there and wag the finger and say, you know what, this shouldn't be touched at all. It's over the top. That kind of makes you look. There's a term that we say in the gaming streets. Makes you look spooky. Because the evidence is the evidence. And something that Next Gen 720 says that I love and adore: men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. How do you have a 25 megabit connection versus a 300 megabit connection, right? We say you had a 300, I can't find it. Yeah, how do you have a 500 megabit connection versus a 300 megabit connection? Your analysis is with a solid connection playing on Stadia that just feels like playing anywhere else. But the title of your video is Doom Eternal looks great on Stadia, but the lag is too high. How is that even possible? So now one is trying to cancel out each other. So you got to ask yourself, which one cancels out which? And the immediate response should be, let me go to the internet. You can go look at my streams. You can go look at 6'4" streams. You can go look at Projekt streams where he's going through multiple layers to play it. You can go look at Lloyd's streams, at Dasme of StadiaCast, And there's many, many, many more. You can look at all of our streams and numbers. Our experience with Doom Eternal heavily outfavors and heavily does away with Digital Foundry's account for it. So then you got to ask yourself, well, what is Digital Foundry up to? And then you get to the nooks and crannies. When you start asking yourself, what is Digital Foundry up to? Then you start getting to the nooks and crannies. Yeah, maybe Tom can do it as he has the connection and hardware for it. I really don't care for streaming at all to begin with, but even still, my internet isn't great here. And you know what happened after that? He had that conversation with Tom. He said, these guys are getting on my back about this. Let's teach them a lesson. Because apparently by this statement, John Linneman is like the front man for Digital Foundry. If they were doing a review, if it was in the works, he would have already known. But he's unsure. Like, people wanted that, who cares? So he goes to Tom. Tom, just do the damn thing and shut them up. And Tom, that's what he did. Tom was paid hitman money and he did a hitman job. Hence why I labeled them Dupery Foundry. And that's the only way you can look at them, folks. Dupery Foundry. This is a big dupe. And if you don't address it now, again, it's going to lead to what we said before. I'm going to close off with this before I go to comments. They came for the barber. I said nothing. They came for the butcher. I said nothing. They finally came for me, and there was no one left to help me. There is some point in time Digital Foundry is going to have bias towards something that you like. And because you didn't attack this from the forefront and say, you guys can't be fraudulent about this, there's nothing going to stop them. They're going to have the full weight of the internet behind them because you helped give them a pass, period. And if you want to be complicit in that, that's on you. But like I said, don't be out here wagging a finger because men lie, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. And the numbers are against Digital Foundry on this, period. All right, now I will go to comments. Big ups to the homie Rick Tone. He said Microsoft got them in the pocket. Absolutely. 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 I'm going to say this real quick. Now, Chase won't say this, but I will. Chase won't say this, I will. Digital Foundry solely survives for being able to talk highly and put out a lot of rhetoric about tech and polygons and compute units. That's how they rose to fame. When PlayStation had the most powerful unit, they were comparing blades of grass, for crying out loud. They were making blades of grass seem the difference. That's why I don't care about any of them. I don't care really for any of them. I prefer Richard Ledbetter, but I don't care for any of them as a unit working together under Digital Foundry. They made gaming about polygons and compute units opposed to making it about brand new experiences, right? So now, midway through the generation, it seems like that Xbox is now going to be the focus of great technical bibble babble that gives them a lot of stuff to talk about. So now they're fixating their eyes on Microsoft. Microsoft realizes that. And with the advent of cloud gaming, Digital Foundry realizes that it's going to be a lot harder for them because this is out of their realm of expertise. It's going to be a lot harder for them to keep up if cloud gaming gets steam, because then the focus will be off polygons and compute units. Because inherently, if you're going to cloud gaming, that means that you're saying, I'm willing to have a little bit of trade-off in fidelity and stuff, the stuff that Digital Foundry lives and dies off of. I'm willing to have a little bit of trade-off for performance, for mobility, and for ease of access. I'm willing to trade that off because it's more important to me that I don't be bogged down in load times at all. It's more important to me that I can just play on any screen that I want to. It's more important to me that the entry point is cheap. If that is successful in any shape, form, or fashion, that takes attention away from Digital Foundry, and it does what? It takes attention away from their Patreon. Because people start saying, well, Now that I've experienced this, I really don't care about these polygons and compute units as much as I did. It just looks great. I don't care how many pixels are on the screen. It looks great. So I don't need to donate to this cause anymore. And Digital Foundry knows that. And Xbox knows that. So that's why they're coming up with this powerful console. And every time they got something to say about it, they're running and stumbling to hand it off to Digital Foundry. So they have some unique partnership there. I don't know what's being given behind the scenes, but they got something going on there. And like homie Rick Tone says, they got them in the pocket. Project Storm says if he doesn't care, he really shouldn't have bothered. Absolutely. Progress Day said, no one is speaking about the unskippable intro that is annoying as hell. Just get me in the damn menus. I don't know. Okay. I don't have problems with the intro, but hey, I play on Wi-Fi with no issues. Progress Day also says, Doom Eternal on Stadia is flipping awesome. Heath Stevens says, there are so many liars out there. Absolutely. And he also says, calm down, bro. I'm going to say it again. This is how I talk. Ain't you seen my movies? Deep Blue Sea, A Shark 8. Okay, let me stop. Finally, somebody gives a good review on Stadia. Yeah, absolutely. It's 15 seconds. Okay. You know what? I die so much, and I'm in the reboot screen from dying. I don't even pay attention to that, and I stream. So that 15 seconds is cool for me because I streamed it. I don't even notice it, but I get what you're saying. Progress. But yeah, man. Any other questions before I get back and bury myself in this work? Any other questions? But yeah, definitely Dupery Foundry. Definitely Dupery Foundry. And I'm glad Android Police did this video. I mean, did this analysis. Now, this is something that I don't agree with at a key focal point, but I can definitely respect. And I could say if Digital Foundry did something like this, and people were saying, what do you mean you can't justify playing it elsewhere? What do you mean by that? I would be with the other side on the fence and saying, you know what, hold on, guys. This is overall a positive review. Now, then I would be saying, okay, then I would sound like this. This is the type of review that you can make those comments about as far as I'm concerned. This crap from Digital Foundry? Hell no, you can't. And it proves, and Android Police, who does not have a dog in this race, just proved. I need people for those that still feel that Digital Foundry's review or analysis was accurate, explain to me, Android Police's review opposed to our personal experiences. Both can't be true. Both can't be true. We got to settle on that fact. Somebody's lying here, or somebody's messed up. If you don't want to go with somebody's lying, okay, fine. I'll play devil's advocate. Somebody messed up in their analysis. Somebody messed up in their analysis. Both cannot be true. You cannot have a solid connection. Playing on Stadia just feels like playing anywhere else. You can't have that type of analysis on a 25 megabyte connection and say that there's too much lag, the lag is too high on a 300 megabyte connection. Both can't occupy the same space in the same time. Are we resigned to that fact? Again, for those that may not be the sharpest this morning, that didn't have their coffee yet, I will pine back to this. Somebody messed up in their analysis. Both cannot occupy the same space and same time. You cannot have an analysis that says with a solid connection, playing on Stadia feels just like playing anywhere else. And that solid connection is simply 25 megabits down on a good day. and someone in reverse has 300 megabytes Virgin Media fiber connection, and they say there's too much lag, the lag is just too high, and they say that there's no skirting around the fact Doom Eternal is inherently less fun to play on Stadia, and they also say the unavoidable conclusion is that the game is simply a lot more fun to play on a local console. A lot more fun. Both can't occupy the same space in the same time. Somebody messed up in their analysis. And when men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. The numbers are in the favor that Digital Foundry messed up. Because not only do Android police show it, but I show it, 6.4 show it, Lloyd shows it, and many other Stadia gamers that have played Projekt shows it, going through 2 entry points of streaming, that the lag and the latency that Digital Foundry experience is not symptomatic with the average Stadia experience, as they try to allude in this review. The numbers stack up that Digital Foundry messed up. But whether you agree with that or not, you got to agree with the fact that somebody messed up in their analysis. Because you can't say, well, yeah, I think that Digital Foundry's analysis is good and Android Police. No, they both cannot be good. I go to my chat. Homie, Sean Livingston says Stadia Dosage. Android Police does have a big dog in the race. They love Google. Google is their dog. If Stadia does well, it gives Android Police a whole new line of news to cover. I have seen multiple videos from Android Police where they simply dog out Stadia. I've also seen articles from them where they have been a little bit biased towards GFN. I mean, I don't think that's a fair comment. And normally, Sean, we agree. I don't think that's a fair comment. If anything Android related works, they will thrive. And they've been a lot more favorable towards GFN than they have Google Stadia. So I can't agree with that. I get that they're Android Police and they're working off of Google's proprietary software, but the record that is out there says something different. And again, they survive if all of them do well. And they have not, and I haven't agreed with Android Police. They have not been fair in every analysis that they've done with Stadia, with Google, but that's okay. That's okay. That's why I've never mentioned Android Police before, because despite what I may feel is a little bit of heavy-handed rhetoric, I don't think it was too far off the reservation. Sean Livingston also says, however, I only believe Android Police's review because I have Stadia and use it. Cold Blood Sensei says, my copy of Final Fantasy Remake is here tomorrow. Yes. Charles Aran says, do you think AP were mad at DF2? Do you think this is starting a war protest against the hate clickbait media? We have some new pro games. Hopefully we can get some normalcy. I'm going to answer all of those. Those are all great questions, Charles. I think Android Police, being that they play Stadia more frequently, I think they were probably dismayed in why they did what they did. I mean, they made it a point to say, with a solid connection, playing on Stadia just feels like playing anywhere else. That totally throws out the window Digital Foundry's bullpucky that we all know isn't true. That the lag is just too high. You see what I'm saying? So I think that it's very important that was put out there, because it discredits and it gives a proper reflection of what the experience is. And it's bigger than just saying, well, we know it's the truth. No, the world needs to know the truth. For those that are hip hop enthusiasts, I'm going to let the world know the truth. You don't want me to shine. I got to know the real. The community needs to know the real. Again, I had people on the fence come to me and say, Moss, I was digging you. Digital Foundry put a nail in that, man. I can't do that. I can't come over now. If we don't get those people over, the platform doesn't grow. And despite what they do, it doesn't thrive. It's as simple as that. Charles, to your other point, Charles, do we have new pro games? Hopefully we can get some normalcy. See, here's the thing here. In this regards, Charles, until Stadia starts winning NPDs or they start putting out numbers to show where they're outperforming their console counterparts, this is not going to be over. I get it. We're fatigued. Every Monday, it's somebody doing it. Just when we get it, it seems like every time there's good news for Stadia, it's no longer Google tripping over it. It's somebody in the media trying to stample over Stadia. And what happened was we got Doom Eternal. We're enjoying it. Division's out and we're enjoying it. We just want to enjoy. I get it. But we all cannot be fatigued because this is going to happen for the next 12 to 18 months. This is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get for the next 12 to 18 months. It's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. The hate is not going anywhere. So we got to be steadfast and strong. And for those of us, again, if we work in tandem as a community, for those of you that are fatigued, you let those of us that aren't fatigued double up. I'm not fatigued. I see something, my immediate reaction. I care so much about you guys. And again, I'm not saying this to put myself on a pedestal. I just inherently care about people. I care so much about you guys that if I know that you're going to be put in a situation that is compromising for you, an autopilot kicks in. It's just the way that I'm wired. An autopilot kicks in and it takes over and I hit the airwaves. I start doing my due diligence. I start pulling out the receipts and MM2K goes away and Mighty Moss takes over. I hate seeing people dupe so much because within society, they thrive off of fooling and tricking people, and I hate that. It's just part of my nature. I hate that. So for those of you that might be fatigued that just want to play your games, fine. Just rest assured that there are those of us who don't get tired that we're going to be doing the heavy lifting. But what I don't want us to get into the habit of is us doing the finger wagging. Oh, just let it be. No. If you say to yourself, look, I'm going to just let this one fly. I'm done. I'm going to play. Fine. But for you to jump out there on the soapbox, no, let this go. This isn't the tactful thing to do. Okay, fine then. Okay, fine. If I lived in a world where you lived, then and I did things the way that you did it, Tom Warren would still be dogging the system, and it wouldn't be growing at all. Paul Tassi would still be dogging the system, and it wouldn't be growing at all. I wouldn't even have the people in my ear talking about, I'm interested in this. Project Storm wouldn't even have had the situation where he said that somebody that he knows came to him and even queried him. Those people would be long gone because everybody would be dogging the system. A lot of people don't even know that this community exists. Now, because we spoke up, they know this community exists. And now they're apprehensive. They're like, whoa. First it was Tom Warren that had to know. It was Paul Tassi that had to know. And now it's Digital Foundry and the rest of the community that had to know. We're like us, baby. We came from the caverns with our scissors. Hands across the world. Now they know that we're here. And before they go create clickbait to the demise of the unsuspecting gamer, they're going to think twice. Videos like this help do that. But you know what they also help do? That those same finger wagging people don't say nothing about? They get you discounts. they put an ease on your pockets. That Rage 2, you can say you can say thank you to us that said something. That discount on Rage 2 that y'all saw during Christmas, you can say thank you to us. Also, thank you to Google for making it happen. The discounts now that you're seeing on Ubisoft, you can say thank you to us, the ones that speak up. And also say thank you to Google and Ubisoft for making it happen. I don't see none of those same people that want to wag the finger saying, you know what? Rage 2 being discounted is a horrible thing. These Ubisoft sales are a horrible thing. Because you can't have it both ways. Both can't occupy the same space in the same time either. Either what we do is not tactful and it's tasteless, or it has its role, even though you may not want to participate in it. It's got to be one or the other. It can't be both. And I say it's the latter. So we can't get worried, Charles and Rambo. Great question. Stadia does it. How numbers don't lie when numbers are provided by mittens. Stop it. I tried the demo and it's definitely spectacular. Have fun on that masterpiece. Chariot Man Gaming. MM2K is going in on Digital Foundry these last couple of days. Yeah, because they need to be going in on it. Stadia Weekly 1. Checking in from the job. Give them hell. Hey, I appreciate it. And all the Stadia Weekly 1. Let me see something good, brother. Hold on. Let me make sure. Let's see Stadia. It's Stadia. Okay, Stadia, you're a mod. If you can, drop your channel here. I need y'all to check out Stadia Weekly 1's channel because the brother he got some fire content. He was doing some impromptu videos. He does a lot. I need y'all to follow the channel because, you know, YouTube be acting up. And we try to tweet out the good material for all the Stadia content providers. I need you to follow Project Storm as well. Great brother does some great technical content as well. You got to see this amazing. So I need them to drop their links to their channels in this chat. This is a community podcast. Definitely. So we definitely want to highlight everybody's contributions. Project Storm, speaking of the aforementioned Project Storm, says they really effed up this one and they know it. I will definitely be tuning into the next Stadia analysis. I bet Rich does it. No, you know what, Project? Don't do it. It's like my grandmammy used to tell me. My grandmammy used to say, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, boy, don't say nothing at all. Or I'm going to make you climb that tree and I'm going to walk them hips. She from the deep, deep South. I'm gonna make you climb that tree, boy, get that switch, and I'm gonna walk them hips. If you got nothing nice to say, don't say it. And Richard Ledbetter, he's not the leader. If he was the leader, then none of this stuff would be going on. He's just the most professional surrounded around. Look, ain't no way to say it but to say it. He's the consummate professional, more likely, and he's surrounded around a bunch of buffoons. Have you guys ever had to deal with that at work? Have you ever been the sole and lonely person at work that does all the work, that does everything that they're supposed to, but it's all the bozos around you that get the light, that get the shine, that get the raises? You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, they're living off of you. That might be Richard. Richard may not have any say-so in this. Because if he did, I don't think anything would be going down here. Even where Richard had analysis that I didn't agree with, it was so transparent that you could make a counter towards, but you couldn't attack his integrity. You can say, well, why are you focusing on blades of grass, but you can't attack his integrity? You see what I'm saying? Where Tom and John and whoever else is there, like this other, the rest of them, I don't know, man. Richard is the only one that I could deal with, but he's surrounded by a bunch of bozos. And you can't, I say none of them do it. None of them do it. Rick Tone says, I ain't tired yet. I feel you, Rick. He says the problem here isn't John L, that he would get a laugh from the Stadia haters. He thought he would sit and agree with them. It's messy and damaged. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's messy for them. And I want to say this. No, I ain't going to say that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. Stadia soldiers assemble. Absolutely. Yep. All right, y'all. Well, that was great. That was great. But I wanted there to be an official record of what was, and big ups to Android Police. Big ups to them, y'all. Wow, man. It was important to have on the record somebody that did the job of a consummate professional, that even has major points of view that I don't agree with, but I can respect their analysis because I have the luxury of having Stadia in my hands. So I know I can attest for what they're saying. I cannot attest for anything that Digital Foundry says out of their mouth, even the positive stuff, because they purposely put it in a bunch of word salad. They're basically saying here in parts of their review that the Stadia version holds at 1800p more frequently than Xbox, even with their spotty connection situation. It holds more at 1800p better than it does on Xbox. But they say it in such word salad, and they don't actually say, they say it without saying it, that right there tells you from the beginning I knew this wasn't going to be a fair analysis, whether there were negative points or not. So what this does is it does two important things. I want everybody to understand why the Android Police review does two important things. Number one, for those within the community that said that this was nothing to do but a bunch of us just being upset that there was something negative to say, that debunks that. Because Android Police has something negative to say that I don't agree with. I fleshed out how, but I can still respect the overall review. So that debunks that. For those of you that are in the community, love you guys, but you know, we got to have that coming to Jesus moment. I got to wake up. You know what I'm saying? And we got to understand that despite our own personal life experiences, we're not above, we're not on a higher echelon than anybody else because we don't know what everybody else's life experiences are. I have marketing experience. I have Fortune 500 experience. I don't try to hit you over the head with it. It's just that we're in situations where I know it'll be important to help you understand where I'm coming from. Do I mention it? But I don't mention it all the time. So just because in your life experiences you may do this, that, or the other, you don't know me. So it's never good to judge a book by its cover. It's never good to assume anything because it does what? Make a blank out of you. And now for those that have said that were wagging the finger, not those that just said, you know what, it's not a big deal to me, I'm going to leave it alone. But for those that got on their soapbox and said, you know what, you shouldn't say anything. It's making you look spooky. Because the evidence, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie, and Sean Livingston, no. Science provides provides the numbers. Okay? Numbers don't lie. There is no way that you have two totally different reviews that can occupy the same space at the same time. Somebody messed up. And by all the streams that are out there, if Doom Eternal wasn't out yet and none of us could stream it, then I can't do this podcast. I can't do this podcast because nobody that I know or myself doesn't have any personal experience. But we all have personal experience. So all of our personal experience heavily sides with this analysis that you see on the screen from Android Police. Therefore, somebody's messed up, and the numbers say that Digital Foundry messed up. So if Digital Foundry messed up, and they are the pinnacle of technical analysis, and they're dogging a system inaccurately, that's going to make unsuspecting gamers shy away from the platform, even though they might enjoy it. And we know that there's more people that would enjoy this. Why would we let this go? Because we think there's some magical pixie dust out there that Google's going to give when base releases? Then you're not looking at this from 5,000 feet. So hopefully all that has become paramount. I want to thank everybody for coming through. Love you guys as always. But woo! Ain't no denying it now, baby. The numbers is out there. The numbers is out there. I think it was 7 that said he's going to put out his own review, and he suggests that we add a hashtag to that, Doom Eternal on Stadia or something like that. Yeah, do that. Let Digital Foundry know that this isn't okay, because this is the same thing we did with Tom Warren, and Tom Warren stopped. It's the same thing we did with Paul Tassi, and Paul Tassi left it alone. And now we got to do it with Digital Foundry. And we'll go higher up the ladder that we got to go up. Who cares? When you're doing gamers wrong, you're doing gamers wrong, and it got to be addressed. So with that said, I want to thank everybody for coming out here today, for seeing this. This was fantastic. Great job, Android Police. We ain't got to agree all the time, baby, but this is consummate professionalism, and I can respect it. So with that said, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful gaming day. Like I was saying before, this does two things, because I got lost in my own babble. It stops that muck within the community that says, you know what, we got to let this go. And the finger wagging part of it, we got to let it go. This shows you why I should let it go, because somebody severely messed up. It was Digital Foundry. And what it also does is it says to the community at whole that Digital Foundry got problems. And before you send out your next Patreon, might already be too late for April, but before you send out your next Patreon, you need to look at some things. That's very important. With that said, I want to thank everybody for coming through. And as always, you have a wonderful, wonderful gaming day.
Stay sick, cause I follow my gut. They say I was pushing my luck.